Najran, a city that lies in the southern part of Arabia, carries a history deeply intertwined with the religious and cultural crossroads of the Arabian Peninsula. While many today associate this region with Islam, few are aware of the significant Christian presence that once flourished here. Christianity in Najran during the late antiquity period played a critical role in shaping the spiritual, political and cultural dynamics of the region. This video takes you on a journey into the heart of Najran's Christian history, a tale of faith, struggle and survival. Christianity's arrival and establishment in Najran was a significant event in the history of the Arabian Peninsula. Najran became one of the early centers of Christianity in pre-Islamic Arabia, and its Christian community played a crucial role in the region's religious and political dynamics. Christianity likely arrived in Najran during the late 4th or early 5th century CE. Najran was located on a major trade route that connected South Arabia to the Levant and Byzantium to the north, as well as to Ethiopia, Aksum, to the west. This made it a melting pot of cultures and ideas. Christian merchants and missionaries from the Byzantine Empire and Ethiopia may have brought the religion to Najran. The spread of Christianity along trade routes was a common phenomenon, and in Najran's case, Ethiopian Christian merchants are believed to have played a significant role. The Kingdom of Aksum, in modern Ethiopia and Eritrea, was a Christian power across the Red Sea and a close ally of the Byzantine Empire. It had strong ties to the Arabian Peninsula, especially in southern Arabia. It is possible that Christian influence from Aksum reached Najran through this connection. Ethiopian missionaries or Christianized Arab tribes under Aksumite influence may have contributed to the Christianization of the area. The influence of Syriac-speaking Christians, especially from Mesopotamia, may have also been important in spreading Christianity to Najran. Syriac Christianity was prominent in the Near East and had a significant presence in the Arabian Peninsula through its network of missionaries. Once Christianity took root in Najran, it grew steadily, becoming the dominant religion in the region. Najran developed into a significant Christian center with its own bishopric by the 5th century. The community there adopted an early form of Christianity, which was aligned with the beliefs of the Aksumite Church. Monophysitism, which emphasized the single divine nature of Christ, was a prevalent Christological view in Eastern Christian communities, including in Aksum and parts of the Byzantine Empire. Najran's Christians built a famous cathedral known as the Kabat Najran, or the Najran Church, which was a symbol of the community's devotion and religious significance in the region. This cathedral was a central place of worship and an important landmark that drew Christians from the surrounding areas. According to Ibn Ishaq, an 8th century Arab historian who authored one of the earliest biographies of the Prophet Muhammad, SIRAT Rasulullah, the person responsible for spreading Christianity in Najran was a man named Faymon, sometimes referred to as Faymon in other sources. Ibne Ishaq's version of the spread of Christianity in Najran is recounted as part of the story of the people of the ditch, referred to in the Quran, Surah al-BUROOJ, chapter 85, verses 4 to 8. According to Ibne Ishaq's account, Faymon was a Christian monk who originally came from the lands of the Byzantine Empire. He was a devout believer, known for his strong piety and dedication to Christianity. Seeking seclusion and the freedom to worship God without distractions, Faymon left his homeland and began traveling across different lands in search of a place where he could live in peace and devote himself to worship. Seclusion and solitude was what he wanted. Faymon was a man of prayer, and he could do miracles with his strong Christian faith, as his prayers were always answered. He used to wander between towns. As soon as he became known in one town, He moved to another, eating only what he earned from his own hands. He avoided people. He was a builder by trade, using mud bricks. He kept Sundays as a rest day and did not work on Sundays. He would go into the desert and pray there in seclusion till evening. A man named Salih watched him and started following him. Impressed by Faymon's devotion and prayer, Salih became his close disciple and helped him in spreading the Christian message. When a man suffering from any disease came in Faymon's way by chance, he would pray for him and people would be cured. However, if Faymon was summoned to a sick man, he would not go, as he did not want any attention from the people. As the story goes, one of the villagers in Syria had a son who was sick, and he asked about Faymon and was told that he never came when he was sent for, but that he was a man who built houses for people for a wage. Therefore the man went to Faymon and asked him that he wanted him to do some work for him in-house, and would he come look at it so that they can agree on a price. Arrived at the house, Faymon asked what he needed done. The man showed him his blind son and said, "O Faymon, one of God's creatures is in the state you see, so pray for him." Faymon did so, and the boy got up entirely healed. Knowing that he had been recognized as a healer, he left the village along with Salih. Faymon and Salih went on until they reached the land of the Arabs who attacked them. They were made prisoners, carried off and sold as slaves in Najran. At this time, people of Najran followed the religion of the Arabs, worshipping a great palm tree there. Every year they held a festival when they hung on the tree any fine garment they could find, and also women's jewels. Then they sallied out and devoted the day to it and prayed around it. Faymon was sold to one noble and Salih to another. Faymon was given a room by his master where he prayed earnestly. While he prayed, the room he was in would fill up with light, so that it shone as it were without a lamp. His master was amazed at this sight and asked him about his religion. Faymon told him about his religion and also told him that he and his people were in error. As for the palm tree, it could neither help nor hurt, and if he were to curse the tree in the name of God, he would destroy it, for he was God alone without a companion. "Then do so," said his master, "for if you do that, we shall embrace your religion and abandon our present faith." After purifying himself, Faymon prayed. He invoked God against the tree, and God sent a wind against the tree, which tore it from its roots and cast it on the ground. People of Najran, seeing this miracle, adapted his religion, and he instructed the people in the laws of Jesus, son of Mary. This was the beginning of Christianity in Najran, in the land of the Arabs. According to the narrative, Faymon's success was also attributed to the miracles he performed, which further convinced the people of Najran of the truth of his teachings. His reputation as a holy man attracted more followers, and Christianity became firmly rooted in Najran. While in Najran, Faymon gained followers due to his piety, wisdom and dedication to his faith. He succeeded in converting many people in Najran to Christianity, establishing a strong Christian community in the city. However, the peaceful existence of Christians in Najran was about to be disrupted by a dramatic and violent series of events. By the early 6th century, the Himyarite kingdom, which ruled much of southern Arabia, had converted to Judaism. This was a political move that aligned the Himyarite leaders with Jewish communities in Arabia and elsewhere, and it marked a significant shift in the religious landscape of the region. By this time, Judaism had become the dominant religion in the Himyarite kingdom, and the Himyarite king, NUWAS, sought to consolidate power and eliminate Christian influence, which he saw as a threat. Moreover, the close relationship between the Christians of Najran and the Christian kingdom of Aksum, a rival to Jewish Himyar, intensified the tensions. The Himyarite king NUWAS, who ruled from around 517 to 525 CE, adopted Judaism as the state religion and sought to suppress other religious communities, including Christians. Tensions grew between the Himyarites and the Christians of Najran, leading to one of the most tragic episodes in early Arabian Christian history, the Massacre of Najran. Around 523 CE, NUWAS launched a campaign against Najran, which is described in both Christian and Islamic sources as a religious persecution. According to historical accounts, NUWAS gave the Christians of Najran an ultimatum. They could either convert to Judaism or face death. The Christians, led by their bishop Arethus, also called Al-Harith, refused to renounce their faith. NUWAS's forces are said to have massacred a large number of Christians in Najran, with estimates of the death toll varying in different sources. The event became a symbol of Christian martyrdom in the region. The Christians who were killed, particularly their leader Arethus, were later regarded as martyrs by the Christian Church. Ibne Ishaq also mentions another story regarding the people of Najran during this time of persecution. According to this narrative, a sorcerer lived in a village in Najran who used to teach the young people of Najran his art. People of Najran sent their sons to the sorcerer to be taught sorcery and magic. A man named THAMIR sent his son Abdullah along with these young men to learn sorcery and magic. Abdullah's tale is connected to an oppressive ruler who used a sorcerer to control the people. The sorcerer had grown old and needed an apprentice to continue his magical practices. Abdullah was selected to be trained as the apprentice of the king's sorcerer. Faymon, or maybe another saintly figure, came there and pitched his tent in a place between the village of the sorcerer and the town of Najran. It is not clear if this saintly figure was Faymon or someone else. While on his way to the sorcerer each day, Abdullah would pass by a monk who was secretly teaching the message of God, in some versions Christianity, but in Islamic versions it is often generalized to belief in the one God. Abdullah became fascinated with the monk's teachings and accepted the belief in one God, rejecting the sorcerer's practices. The boy started to sit with him and listen to him instead of going to the sorcerer until he became a true believer. The boy, Abdullah, acknowledged the unity of God and worshipped him. He asked questions about the laws of one God until he became fully instructed therein. At last, Abdullah asked the man about what was the great name of God, Isme Azam, through which miracles could be done. Isme Azam, meaning the greatest name, refers to the most exalted and powerful name of God. In Islamic tradition, it is believed that Isme Azam is a divine name that, if invoked with true faith and purity, grants the person the ability to perform miracles or have their prayers answered instantly. The exact identity of this greatest name is a matter of mystical and theological debate. Although the monk knew the name, he kept it from him, saying, "My dear young man, you will not be able to bear it. I fear that you are not strong enough." Abdullah, seeing that his master had kept the knowledge from him, was determined to find out the great name of God by which one could do miracles. Abdullah collected a number of sticks. Whenever he was taught a name of God, he would write that name on the stick. When he had got them all, he lit a fire and began to throw the sticks in the fire one by one. He burnt all the sticks until he reached the stick with the great name of God inscribed on it. He threw it in the fire, but the stick immediately sprang out, untouched by fire. Thereupon, Abdullah told his master that he knew the great name of God, or Isme Azam, which he had concealed from him. The latter questioned him, and when he learnt how he had found out the secret, he said, "Oh, my young friend, you have got it, but keep it to yourself, though I do not think that you will." Thereafter, whenever Abdullah bin al-Thamir entered Najran and met any sick person, He would say to him, "O servant of God, will you acknowledge the unity of God and adapt my religion so that I may pray to God that he may heal you of your affliction?" People would agree, acknowledge the unity of God, and became believers. Abdullah would pray for them and they would be healed, until in the end there was not a single sick person in Najran but had adapted his religion and become whole from his sickness. When the king heard of Abdullah's growing influence and his refusal to follow the traditional religious practices, that is, the sorcery and polytheism that supported the king's rule, he became enraged and summoned Abdullah. He was captured by the king's forces and brought before the king, who tried to compel him to abandon his faith. Despite threats of torture and death, Abdullah refused to renounce his Christian faith. The king offered him a chance to save his life if he would convert to Judaism, but Abdullah steadfastly refused. His faith in Christianity and his devotion to God were unwavering. The king said to him, "You have corrupted the people of this town, so that they are turning against me and have opposed my religion and the religion of my forefathers. I will make a terrible example out of you." The boy replied, "You don't have the power to do that." NUWAS, angered by Abdullah's answer, ordered that he be executed. The king had him taken to a high mountain and thrown down headlong, but he reached the ground unhurt. Furious, the king had him thrown in a deep water in Najran from which no one had ever emerged alive, but the boy came out safe and sound. The soldiers used different methods to try to kill him, whether by stabbing or other means, but Abdullah survived each attempt unharmed. This was seen as a sign of divine protection, further strengthening his resolve. Having thus got the better of him, Abdullah bin THAMIR told the king that he would not be able to kill him until he acknowledged the unity of God and believed in his religion. For if he did that, he would be given the power to kill him. Abdullah told the king that he could only be killed in one way, by invoking the name of God. He instructed the king to gather the people, place an arrow in the bow, and shoot it while saying, "In the name of the Lord of Abdullah." The king then acknowledged the unity of God and pronounced the creed of Abdullah bin THAMIR's religion. The king followed the instructions, and Abdullah was killed by the arrow. But this miraculous event caused the people who witnessed it to believe in the one God, leading to the mass conversion of many in Najran. Infuriated by the conversion of so many of his subjects, the king, NUWAS, ordered that all the Christians of Najran be massacred. He had them thrown into a ditch filled with fire, and this event is what the Quran refers to in Surat al-BUROOJ, verse 4-8, which mentions the ASHAB al-UKHDUD, companions of the trench. The Quranic verses refer to the people who were thrown into a trench and burned alive for their belief in God. Cursed were the companions of the trench, the fire with fuel, when they were sitting near it, and they were witnesses of what they were doing to the believers. Quran 85, 4-7. Abdullah bin THAMIR is seen as one of the leaders of the Christian believers who were martyred in Najran, and his story serves as a powerful symbol of faith and perseverance in the face of persecution. Abdullah bin al-THAMIR is venerated as a saint and martyr in Christian tradition as well, particularly in the Syriac Church. Abdullah's story has been preserved in Christian hagiography, particularly in Syriac Christian sources. He is remembered as a heroic figure who exemplified Christian devotion and courage. The martyrs of Najran, including Abdullah, were later canonized as saints, and their story was used as a symbol of resistance to religious persecution. The persecution of the Christians in Najran shocked the wider Christian world, especially in the Byzantine Empire and Abyssinia. The Abyssinian king, Caleb, responded by launching a military expedition against NUWAS with the backing of the Byzantine Emperor Justin I. The intervention was swift and decisive. NUWAS was defeated and the Himyarite kingdom was brought under Abyssinian control. This marked a brief period of Abyssinian rule in southern Arabia, during which Christianity in Najran experienced a revival. Churches were rebuilt, and the Christian community was restored, at least temporarily. Following NUWAS's death, the Himyarite kingdom fell under the control of the Christian Aksumite rulers who installed a puppet king. This marked the end of the Jewish monarchy in South Arabia and the beginning of Aksumite influence in Yemen. Later, in the 570s, the region would be conquered by the Sassanid Persians, and eventually it became part of the Islamic world in the 7th century. The Christian community in Najran maintained its presence for some time after the Aksumite intervention, but the rise of Islam in the 7th century would eventually lead to the decline of Christianity in the region. When Islam spread across the Arabian Peninsula, the people of Najran, like other Arabian communities, converted to the new faith. However, the Christian community's legacy lived on in religious writings and the memories of the martyrs of Najran. The story of Christianity in Najran is one of resilience, faith, and survival. It reminds us of the religious diversity that once characterized the Arabian Peninsula, and it challenges us to reflect on the deep connections between the Abrahamic faiths, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam that have shaped this region.